I'd like to introduce our very first speaker, Hilary McVicker. She is the Vice President of Business Development from the Elumenati. The Elumenati specialize in spatial XR and projection design. Spatial XR helps us to experience immersive content in a social and collaborative way at scale. So today she's going to speak with us about Immersive XR and pushing creative boundaries. Please help me welcome Hilary.
Thanks, Amelia. Hello. Okay, so just as an introduction, we are indeed the Elumenati, and what we do as a company is immersive projection design. So I'm sure that most of us in the room are familiar with the range of immersive technologies that make up the XR ecosystem. We have VR, AR, and MR. What we do is spatial XR or immersive XR, physically immersive spaces. So instead of putting on a headset, you enter a space and you're surrounded by imagery and content. We make domes, panoramas, globes, all sorts of different ways to experience and interact with immersive content. We have a particular style of fisheye projection, a patented tech called OmniFocus, and a range of software solutions based on our OmniMap API for geometry correction. We have a plugin for Unity, CMS, which also launches third-party applications. Again, all sorts of ways to experience and interact with immersive content. A little background on the company. We were founded in 2003, but before that, the founders were working in one of the earlier waves of XR. Some of the things they worked on were medical AR, virtual offices, architecture, point cloud visualization. It became apparent that most of these applications were more effective in a group setting than as individual experiences with headsets. Because when people experience XR in physical spaces in groups, it enables them to connect with the content and to connect with one another. So as integrators, there's a choice between which mode of XR to use in creating experiences, and the decision is going to be determined by the user experience that you're creating. So we have XR for UX. Headsets, of course, are great for individual exploration or social experiences with avatars. AR and MR enhance the world around you, and spatial computing maps and interacts with that real world around you. Physically immersive spaces are more an extension of VR in that we're creating an entire reality. So we fill the field of view for the audience for complete immersion. We incorporate spatial audio and interactivity because they're both really important in creating a sense of presence, of being there in this other reality. So Immersive XR connects the digital worlds with the physical world. But what really makes Spatial XR, Immersive XR effective, and what takes it to the next level in pushing creative boundaries is the social, collaborative experience of group XR. This also solves for one of the most challenging aspects of headset-based experiences, which has really been the barrier to widespread adoption of the technology, and that's isolation in single-user experiences. So Spatial XR, on the other hand, can bring people together rather than isolating into individual experiences. So there's a wide range of applications and business benefits for this approach to XR. In out-of-home entertainment, it's just more fun to be with your friends and your family. In design review and virtual production, it's more effective to have a team in a shared environment for collaboration. And in education, these spaces foster dialogue, which can become transformative learning experiences. So we'll look at some use cases in entertainment, enterprise, and education. So as a first example, on the entertainment side, this was kind of an experiment we did with multiplayer interactivity, a Unity game for a festival, in our Cyclorama, which is a 360 immersive projected space. We should have audio. It's okay, it's just the soundtrack. So I'm sorry that you guys missed out on the epic game audio there, but that was the broomstick flight trainer. So in entertainment applications, obviously they're very well suited for Immersive XR. The 360 cyclorama in particular, because not only are the players racing each other through the game environment, but their audience is also inside the game. Games and rides are just more fun when you're with your friends or family or colleagues or whoever you came to the venue with. These social experiences might also be an opportunity to meet new people and connect in real life. So location-based entertainment faces a marketing challenge in the era of OTT, when there is endless streaming content available at home. And so Immersive XR creates a reason to come out and play. Obviously, audiences are responding to this, as we're seeing in the proliferation of immersive experiential art spaces like the wildly successful Meow Wolf, Team Lab, Area 15. In those experiences, and all immersive experiences really, it depends on interactivity. So our projects incorporate user interfaces from the game world like Kinect and Leap Motion, because the sense of agency in an interactive experience is part of connecting with the audience, because the users own their experience. It's the difference between being told a story and seeing yourself in the story. It becomes your story with interactivity. So the fun factor of being able to play with your friends is one thing, but we also find that using Spatial XR addresses operations challenges like accessibility, throughput, and maintenance. A perfect example is a project that we did with DreamWorks a few years back. These were pop-up holiday activations in malls around the US and the UK with a virtual sleigh ride to the North Pole that was the Immersive XR factor. Again, sorry that you'll miss the Christmas music, but. And so we exit through the gift shop. So this was kind of an immersive upgrade to the traditional experience of going to the mall to meet Santa and telling him what you want for Christmas. So DreamWorks considered headsets for the experience, but obviously most of their intended audience was quite young. And then the goal was to create a shared experience for families to do together, especially with the holiday vibe. So this was ideal for Group XR from an operations perspective as well. But of course, any tech-based experience that's running for a long period of time with high throughput, especially kids, is going to have challenges. So for us, it was really key to create something that the end users, in this case the elves in Santa's workshop, could maintain in the field. So it's important to note that designing for deployment at scale really does require simplicity. So the business benefit for DreamWorks was offering an opportunity for their audience to connect with the beloved DreamWorks characters. Immersive XR in location-based entertainment is another emerging use case we're seeing, especially on the travel and tourism side. So another example is the Discovery at Sea project on Princess Cruise Lines. And part of that project uses our domes in a Journey to the Stars experience. So this lets the crews expand their offerings that are family-friendly and all ages, but it also lets cruisers connect with the Discovery brand. As for use cases in enterprise, this kind of experiential marketing is probably what we've seen most. It's key, really, to connecting with customers in the experience economy. This kind of marketing creates CX, customer experience, which is not just what happens when a customer uses your product, but really any interaction that they have with your brand. So pop-ups, trade shows, festivals, all of these are live brand experiences, and a successful activation is going to build relationships and earn customer loyalty. So it's making connections, which is what XR does. It's XR for CX. Immersive XR spaces can stand alone, or they can be incorporated into larger branded spaces, like this one, a booth for AT&T at South by Southwest, where Super Uber integrated our technologies. So the open design here is an attractor. You can see it across the floor, grab friends or colleagues, and bring them back to experience it again. However, that's a challenge because it's a compromise to the ideal lighting conditions for projection. So Another challenge in deployment at scale is finding the right place with the right lighting conditions. LED options have come a long way. So what we need are compound curve screens to create a sense of immersion. And the LED offerings there are coming out with better pixel size and pixel density and more affordable price point. So there's always a solution, but it may be reflected in the price point, of course. This is also a challenge that we can solve for with design, as GPJ did. They are the global event agency partner of IBM. And this was at the Big Think conference in San Francisco last year. So they used our panorama system inside a box and then branded the outside of the box with elements that continued the user experience throughout the conference. The whole Big Think conference used XR as a big part of telling the brand's story and connecting consumers with IBM products. So in the tech sector, we often find ourselves communicating about concepts that are abstract or complicated, like AI and machine learning. XR is a way for consumers to connect with the technology firsthand and intuitively understand those concepts. This also works well in the use case of executive briefing centers, where big data is being explored by groups of people who are working together. As Amelia said, this creates efficiencies. This one is the NetApp Cloud Theater, which is interesting in that it's being fed by an immersive edit suite, which is a smaller panorama where the editor can work in 360 without needing to wear a headset. So virtual production, of course, is a great use of Spatial XR. Magnopus, a company who call themselves crafters of reality, have a panorama which they use in the production pipeline for VR content that's going to be experienced in headsets. So the design review lets their creative team walk through the 360 space and make decisions together. And then with clients, they can hear and respond to client feedback in real time. Of course, there are applications for not just spatial, but all types of XR in this, especially supporting filmmaking and CGI environments. Magnopus's founder, Ben Grossman, recently said that this is how XR is bridging the physical and the digital worlds to push creative boundaries. It's also why XR is so effective in designing the built environment. So VR use cases in architecture, construction, and engineering are well established, initially through the Autodesk suite, increasingly now that Unity Reflect has been released. In fact, we are releasing a Unity-based design review tool for civil engineering for spatial XR environments. So the third market sector where we are seeing XR pushing creative boundaries is education. Virginia Tech's Institute for Creativity, Arts, and Technology is home to a large-scale 360-degree cyclorama where groups of about 60 people can experience immersive content. It's more fun with the audio. So Virginia Tech's mission is transforming knowledge to practice, and the cyclorama fits that bill as a lab for cross-disciplinary projects. From Unity-based interactive data visualization to documentaries using 360 video, creating and exploring immersive XR content connects arts, sciences, cultural studies, different departments of the university. Students get hands-on experience with the tool set for content creation. And this also addresses one of the biggest challenges that we found in the adoption of these technologies at scale. It's been content. So, of course, the content is the most important part of any XR experience. It's really the story that you tell that makes the technology relevant. But a few years ago, it was a really expensive proposition to make a custom interactive piece of content for an immersive space. And that has evolved tremendously. There's a ton of freely available content out there, and the tools for creation are rapidly democratizing with Unity and now Unreal as well. So the cyclorama is inside the cube, which is an area with a 140-channel spatial audio system. So this lets them not just visualize, but also auralize data. So directional cues in audio in the 360 storytelling paradigm are important because they kind of tell you where to go as you're choosing your own adventure. But they're also important in designing built environments because sound is a big part of how a space is going to feel. I know we'll hear more on spatial audio in the panel later today. So at the Institute of Digital Intermedia Arts, the IDEA Lab at Ball State University, this is another immersive XR space that connects the disciplines in education. They work at the intersection of the arts, sciences, and humanities with technology. So a recent commission was a virtual version of the Broad Art Museum, as well as, in collaboration with the History Channel, virtual explorations of Stonehenge and the Pantheon, which you can explore in headsets and then walk through the 360 space. So it's along with democratizing the tools, it's also becoming a lot easier to create content once and then deploy it to multiple display experiences. Speaking of night skies, planetariums are probably the original immersive XR experience for most of us. So the complex concepts and the interdependent relationships of space science and earth science require that we explore them in a spatial venue. And it's really exciting to help planetariums evolve into digital dome theaters. We've partnered pretty extensively with NASA JPL on their EYES platforms, Eyes on the Earth, Eyes on the Solar System, and Eyes on Exoplanets, which make NASA's mission data accessible through interactive data visualization. We port eyes into immersive environments in museums, science centers, and planetariums, as prominent as the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, down to much smaller local museums and even public schools. It's been an effective public-private partnership that enables people to connect with the data from NASA. And it's just one example of group VR projects in museums where, again, Spatial XR is accessible for all ages and all abilities, and the shared experiences create opportunities for dialogue. Specifically on the JPL side, Eyes on the Earth monitors the Earth's vital signs. And so that translates best to display on a globe, like the one that JPL has at the Earth Science Center in Pasadena. When we look at planetary science on the globe, whether from JPL or other sources, you can immediately grasp how we are all connected and how the critical climate issues that we're facing impact us all. JPL uses the ESC to communicate with school children to senators, as they say, and it's an effective way to present the real science to decision makers and stakeholders. So this data-based exploration with Immersive XR is extending into enterprise, as corporate entities find it imperative to understand and communicate about sustainability and global change from a global perspective. So these projects are pushing creative boundaries in that they're finding intersections between these market sectors and applications that work across entertainment, education, and enterprise. So extended realities, especially group experiences and spatial and immersive XR, are opportunities to connect with data, connect with brands, connect the physical and the digital worlds, and connect with one another. Good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really loved it when you said the difference between being told a story and being in a story, and that it becomes your own story. I thought that was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and auralized data. That's the first time I've heard that expression. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. That's what I said when our colleague at Virginia Tech told me that they use the space for auralizing.
Yeah.
So just as visualizing is bringing it into the visual field, auralizing brings it into the oral field. So
amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And only I think Virginia Tech space is one of few in the world that has the capabilities between both audio and visual spatial experiences.
Very cool.
Pretty cool.
Well, that was fascinating. Thank you so much. One more time for Hilary. Thank you.
Thank you.